Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. A special shout out to my fellow survivors. I especially hope you are safe and well. Take care of yourself. In today's exciting episode, I was going to do, there's this sewing YouTube Q&A, and I was going to do that, and I was going to intersperse the question and answer sections with bits of, some pattern recommendations and then some sewing and then some beading. But I ended up doing so much beading that this is just going to be a whole beading episode. I ended up working on 6 different jackets. One I'd partially finished, but the other 5 I don't think you've seen before. It's a lot of beading, but like with this one here, I worked on something else and there was some leftover beads, so then I added some more beads, and this one has fish beads in it. They're very cute. So then I did this one and there were some beads left over from this one, so I used them in another thing, and then I did this leaf one and there were some leaves left over, so I used the leaves in a completely different way in another leaf one, and yeah, so on and on. So there's 5 jackets you haven't seen before. Plus, I did the shoulder bits of beading and the cuffs, the sleeves for the candy one. So hopefully you will find some inspiration if you're just starting your bead collection. You don't have very many. This might help you figure out some different ways that you can use the exact same bead, but in completely different ways. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. Oh, and when it came time to stop and just start making and editing my weekly episode, I hadn't finished the one I was working on, so I decided to go an extra few days to the end of the month. So it's 10 days worth of beading. So last episode, I worked on these 3 jackets, and there's a little bit of beading left to do on each one. The one with the green beading doesn't have shoulder or sleeve beading. The gold one needs the shelf bit at the bust. That needs some more beads there, and also around the neckline needs more beading. And then the pink one, in this bit of footage, I've finished it. But in this bit of footage here, you can see that it doesn't have the bits over the shoulder, and I haven't done the beading on the cuffs of the sleeves either. So that is what I started with. It was my intention to do these, and I do get to the pink one eventually. But spoiler alert, the gold one is still yet to do. So I was looking at the pink one, and I had these boxes of beads that I'm going to use on different jackets, and I really like the fish in this one. So I decided to take the fish out. And you know how I made 2 jackets out of this beautiful Liberty multicolored floral, and I've done green beads on one, which is absolutely adorable. Still half finished, but absolutely adorable. And then the other jacket I hadn't done anything to, but I really want to see, it's got the bigger sleeves, bigger puffier sleeves. And I was like, well, what if I mix the pink sort of lampshade beading from the candy jacket with this beautiful floral that I've used the plain green beads on? What if I sort of mixed them together, the 2 ideas together, and did a 3rd jacket and used up those adorable fish beads? So I added some orange and some gold beads, transparent beads in there as well. But yeah, my first move was to carefully pick out all the fish beads from this, and I replaced them with apricot beads. So it's still going to have the same look, that other jacket that I planned, but I've decided to use the fish ones in this loud, beautiful, beautiful floral. So these are my fish beads here. They're absolutely adorable. They're kids' jewellery sort of beads. And I don't know, sometimes I like them. I've got this it was a mixed colour bag of beads, and I took them all out. So I've got the purple ones still, I've got the yellow ones still. I used the pink and the light blue ones in this aqua jacket on a Linton tweed with some pearls and other glass beads, and it looked really good. So that's kind of why I wanted to use these colours on this beautiful floral fabric. So I'm doing the lampshade beading. It's just where instead of using the same bead to do a string of beads, you use, like in this case, 8 different beads in a sort of particular pattern, and I just call that lampshade beading because the only thing I've ever seen it on is those handmade lampshades with all the different beads on them. So I tried, third time lucky. So first of all, I tried it and they just did not look right. So then I tried a different combination of beads and I added some orange and gold. I add the gold beads later, but I added some other beads in there and it still didn't feel right. So then I tried again for a third time and I was just mixing the beads up. I felt like it needed some more red in there as well. So it was just like a real cacophony of different colors in there. And the chaos sort of just makes it more fun and it worked. So then, yeah, I finally could keep going. And yeah, because if it doesn't work, you sort of have to, I mean, you can just do a test sample. But I just work on my jackets. I'm really good, really careful at unpicking so I don't wreck the jacket. And on the jacket you can see this sort of magenta-y hot pink beads, whereas in the actual beading I've used pale pink ones, which just look washed out when used on this really, really colourful piece of fabric. So I carefully undo it again and I use those dark pink magenta-y sort of beads instead of those pale pink almost completely transparent ones that I used in the candy floral jacket. So yeah, I'm finally happy with the way it looks and then I go ahead. So I think on this one I did this like literally 10 days ago. So I think it was 8 long, 8 short, 8 small, 8 big, 8 small, 8 big, 8 small. And if you just sort of mix the amount, and I also use so the thread that I use is poly thread, not cotton or not anything natural fiber, because generally speaking, I love to work with a natural fiber fabrics, but with thread, poly thread is much, much stronger. And also, instead of just using one strand doubled over, I use 2 strands doubled over normally. But because I'm doing this hanging down bead, I ended up using 3 strands. And then on the last jacket, I ended up using 4 strands doubled over. So it's effectively 8 bits of thread. I don't recommend that. If you haven't done beading before, I certainly don't recommend it. But just because I've done so much beading and I was doing so much beading in a row, it's obviously if you're not used to working hand sewing, then you just get in knots. You just get in so many knots. So I don't recommend it. But if you sort of work your way up to it, that is what I ended up doing. So here we go. And I love this combination. It's just this absolute right of colours. And I love it so much. I love the tulips. I love the big open roses. I was a little concerned about the pale blue flowers in this print. I have these scarlet, like this beautiful, beautiful vintage plastic beads in the shape of vintage flowers, and I was maybe going to use them over the pale blue flowers, but I don't know. Once I started doing the beading, I didn't mind it. I think the pale blue flowers in this particular jacket, they offset those beautiful full pale pink roses and the reddish and yellow tulips really well. So I left it. I still have those vintage flowers. I have them in loads of different colours. I have to do another bead haul because I keep talking about all these beads that I don't think you've actually seen yet. Anyway, so here it is. And I basically did 8 big beads, 8 short beads, 8 big beads, 8 short beads, and I used them in a particular order. Like some of the pearls, like the pale pink pearls come in a really pale pink and a sort of more candy pale pink. and the fish obviously are all different colors. And then there's like pale pink, there's a red, there's orange, and there's a darker red and a darker pink and an almost magenta pink. So yeah, there's mix. And then I went around the second time and did 6 on each string, so it's a different pattern, same pattern on each 6/6 one. But yeah, it's again, the fish is a different color in each one and things like that. With the 6 string, so the slightly shorter string, I had that gold necklace around one of the mannequins. Well, I snipped open the gold necklace because it was just spare beads that I hadn't used yet. And here we are. So it's 6 beads. And as you can see, the fish is different in each one. And yeah, so it's basically the same each time, but slightly different. The shapes are the same, but the colours are slightly different. And it looks so good, but there was still sort of a gap at the very edge of the neckline, which I wasn't thrilled about. So I ended up going around and I put some fish in there, and I turned the fish upside down, so like they're doing handstands, well, a face plant. And then I put a little orangey gold transparent bead on top, and oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite jackets now. And obviously I finished this part at night and I was like, okay, we'll leave it like this for the time being. And I still, really wanted to do another layer around the neckline, but I think I ended up doing the sleeves and the shoulders first. Honestly, if you're about to do your first jacket, do the shoulder bit first. That is the most difficult bit to do, and your thread gets stuck in everything. So before you put beads on the neckline, before you put beads on the calf, I highly recommend, if you want beading over the shoulders, which looks adorable, it's the cutest, I highly recommend that. But yes, do the shoulder beading first. I don't figure this out. Well, I figure it out, but I don't actually implement this order until the last one. And oh my gosh, it's so much less frustrating to do the shoulder beading first and then do the cuffs and then do the torso of the jacket. The problem with that is you have to know exactly what sort of beading and how much distance you need between each particular strand of beading. So to do the shoulders, because the shoulders are pretty much the most visible bit. I'd say the neckline's quite visible as well. And this is me just, slowly adding. So I did 2 rows around the shoulders, around the cuffs of the sleeves, and then I did another 2, and then on the shoulders I did 2 and then another 2. So there's 2 on the torso of the jacket, like right next to the edge of the shoulder, and then there's 2 on the actual shoulder and sort of falling down the sleeve, and it looks so good. It's super annoying to do because it's so fiddly, but oh my gosh, it just looks adorable. And it also strengthens your sleeve because you sew your seam allowance up into the sleeve, and by beading over the top of that, you're just securing everything down even more. So if you're one of those people who doesn't quite do enough structural stitching, then of course, I'm a nerd. I think you should always do structural stitching is separate to cosmetic or embellishment work. So you should always, in my opinion, you should always do, this is me just pointing out that I've got loads of fish left. So that is when I decide to do this row around the neckline. This is my favorite bit. I love this so much. So what I did was use the darker ones. I took out the pale pinks and the sort of mid pinks and the sort of scarlety magenta pinks, and they were every second one, and then the red and the orange ones I did first, and then at the back there's a bit of a mix of the colours because I didn't quite have enough. So, but yeah, and They just look so cute. I guess you can't really see them because there's so many layers. There's literally 3 layers of beads, but oh my gosh, I'm so proud of this neckline. And then I decide that I should probably do the rest of the beading on this one. Now that I went ahead and used up the leftover pink beads before I'd finished this one. So I knew they were leftover because I sort of extrapolated from what work I'd already done on the candy vintage floral to the other one. So I knew how many beads to keep back for this one. Yeah, I don't recommend doing things in the order that I do them. So I finished the shoulder beading, but I haven't started the sleeve beading. And so now it's the next day and I can finally get some good shots of this. Actually, I just shot this. I did all the jackets at the end, shot them all. So here it is, what it looks like. I still haven't done the design element on the back. I think it's going to be a triangle. And I think it's going to be, so half of those pink buttons that I have, I'm going to use half of them on the pink one and half of them on this. And I've got a few leftover fish and things like that. So I'll do a base layer of hot pink and a few pale pink buttons for the triangle on the back of this one, and then do fish over the top, sort of hanging down like vertical garden style. And here, this is me showing you the little fish. It's just the most adorable neckline of any jacket, and I really like the beading detail over the shoulders as well. I don't like these sleeves so much. They're the extra puffy ones, and without heavy beading on them, they're a nice sleeve. They really are. But with this weight of beads on there, you sort of have to make them sit properly. They don't naturally sit properly. And I do have a lot of structural layers. Like there's 2 layers of netting as the structural element in there. So yeah, I think in future when I'm making my tweed jackets, the short sleeve tweed jackets, I'll just stick to the cap sleeves, I think, and the shorter ones, or the more fitted, slightly longer sleeves, not so much the puff ones. So this is me finishing up the beading on the sleeves. I'll show you a full 360 of this one right at the end, because yeah, otherwise it'll get a bit samey. But I think, did I tell you? No, I think I forgot to film the fact that in the last episode, I did pearls around the neckline, but there was gaps in between each pearl. So I ended up putting red beads in between, so it goes pink, pearl, red, pink, pearl, red. So I have some of these fish are here. I think later I show you more fish. So I've got about 3 times as many. Not enough to really do anything, but enough to use hanging down on strings of beads on the design feature on the back. So this is me just showing you I've got enough to do both design features. The pink vintage floral one with the candy pink beads is going to have pink and a little bit of red in there, and the other one is going to have hot pink with a little bit of other colours in there and the leftover fish. So yeah, I'm probably going to use up all the fish on that one, and I'll probably use some of those transparent orange beads as well. So this is me showing you that, like in the last episode, well, in every episode since I made this jacket, I've said I love this one. So I wanted to use these specific bits of I have these leaf beads and they're transparent and they're a darker green than this. It's a really bright, intense, but also dark green. And yeah, they're not these ones, obviously. These are frosted plastic that sort of look like glass, but they sound like plastic, especially when you use this many so close together. And I had a big bag of them because, I just tend to buy things when people who own bead stores. They buy a bunch of stuff and then it goes out of fashion and no one wants to buy it anymore. And they get to the point like it's been there for years and they're like, oh, I can't stand this anymore. And it'll go on sale. And I'm like, I can use it. I can find the perfect use for it. So that's when I tend to buy things. And yeah, so I had all these different greens because, as we know, green is my favorite color. And there's really sort of straw yellowy green beads in here, really bright, intense, sort of Kelly green ones, and some brighter and some darker ones in there as well. Just a real mix. No mint, no pastel-y sort of or sage beads. Everything is really intense and bright. Oh, this section is me showing you how I do the 4 different layers over the shoulder. And they're just adorable. I love this mix of colours. They don't really go together. I think there's sort of the yellowy ones, there's the Kelly green or mid bright green ones, and then there's the dark ones. So yeah, I would normally use those lots in 3 different types, and I would not mix them with these frosted sort of leaves, but I couldn't find the other leaves. I went through several boxes of beads. I really need a cobmer in my beads, but I could not find them. So I was like, but I really, really want to make this jacket. So I used these ones, and to me, they sort of look more like feathers than leaves, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. I think it's because the jacket itself, like the silhouette of this jacket, is so completely adorable. And yeah, so see, here I do sort of learn. I think I end up putting 4 rows of beads and leaves on the bottom, but I think at this point I only had 2 rows on the bottom, and then I stopped and I was like, no, I'm not going to do the neckline. I'll do the beads over the shoulders next, because these long strands of beads also have this loose big leaf on the bottom of them, so it would be impossible to thread around, to use. Your thread would just get caught in everything. So I stopped and I did this. So I got my rhythm and I figured out my design for, what would be on each strand when I did the first 2 layers of the bottom. And I think that is a good idea. And then I did the sleeves, and oh my gosh, I keep saying no, this is the one I like the best, but it looks really pretty. And then the good thing about these cap sleeves is you can just sit the jacket on its head upside down, and you bead into the sleeve upside down. So you do the top row of beading, then you do the bottom row of beading, then you turn the jacket back up the right way, and it sits beautifully, and your thread hardly ever gets caught on anything. It's fantastic. But if I had my time again, see how because it's a cap sleeve, the edge of the sleeve sits a certain way, and you can tell by the beading that the inside, like the bit near your body, is slightly lower than the outside of the sleeve. If I have my time again, I think the half of the sleeve calf that's closest to the body, I wouldn't do the long bits on that. I do the long bits on the outer half of the sleeve, but not the bit near the body. I like this one, but next time I think I'll do next time I have a jacket where I've got a cuff sleeve, I think I'll just do. So it's long, short, long, short, long, short is how I do the beads. I think next time I have a cuff sleeve like this, I'll do long, short for the outer half of the sleeve, but the bit that's going to be like between my underarm and my torso, I'll just do short, if you get what I mean. Maybe just the third that's near the body. And the other 2/3 I'll do long, short, because it kind of looks like I've got a hairy armpit like this, but with all ivy. But I mean, it's cute, but not for every jacket, if you get what I mean. And the leaves over the shoulder, I don't know, it's just the most delightful thing. It's so cute. It looks like the ivy has just growing over it. It's really organic and I love it. I think, as I said, I think having the 3 different types of green in there is a bit much. It catches the eye a little bit too much. If I just used really bright leaves, those transparent ones, if I could remember what box they're in, if I used them and I used only bright, like I've got 3 different color bright green beads, then I think that would have looked amazing. I feel like adding the yellowy green, the really, really light bright ones, and the really dark ones sort of catch your eye a little bit too much, but that's nitpicking. I think overall this is just, it's so much cuter than I thought it would be, because I was really disappointed that these frosted plastic leaves were the only ones that I could find, not the smaller transparent ones, because the smaller transparent ones sort of, I show you them later on, I find one, but one leaf isn't really helpful. I need the whole bag. And yeah, I like them, but yeah, it's adorable for one jacket, but if I had to do it again, I would split the greens. And then, so after I finish this one, I do actually split the greens and I use them in different ones. So yeah, but this fabric is it's so much fun working on different, it's fun working on different tweeds, because the more expensive the tweeds, the more they have. Oh, so at this point I've done the full 4 rows on the bottom, which, wow, that took a lot of effort because there's so many. There's slightly less thick around the sleeves and the shoulders, and around the bottom I needed the weight because it's such a tiny jacket, like it's very cropped. It needed extra weight. Like, I think it looked good with just the 2 layers, but you really needed, and this is me just pointing out that it's a different sewing session, or beading session, but I'm looking at all these vintage patterns as well. So, and this is me with the neckline done. Isn't it cute? So I did the same way I did the cuffs and the bottom of the jacket. I did that up the center front and around the neckline. And then, of course, there was that gap that there always is between where I start the beading and the actual edge of the neckline. So I put individual little leaves. And yeah, I did every second leaf I attached with an anchor bead that's dark green, and then the one in between, so there's, I think I showed you, but yeah, here we go. So yeah, there's dark green bead, and then there's a medium green bead, then dark green bead, then medium green bead. I think I should have done them all the same on the next jacket. Yes, you're about to see another jacket, different fabric, but I use up the leftover beads. But yeah, if I have my time again, I think I'd do the same anchor bead instead of alternating between 2 different greens. I do like this, but I think a more uniform approach would have, yeah, it just catches your eye sometimes in not quite the right way. See what I mean? I think if they'd all been a uniform colour instead of alternating between the 2, it might have been better. But these are like tiny little details. All in all, I love this jacket. It is so much cuter, because I was really disappointed that I was using these frosted plastic bigger leaves instead of those other smaller ones. And oh my gosh, it turned out so pretty. So anyway, I had loads of leftover leaves of the frosted ones. Now, this fabric here, I originally bought 1 yard of it to make a Chanel style, so long sleeve jacket, and I was going to use these vintage flower shaped beads, but I ended up, if you saw the other April videos, I ended up making 2 shorter bolero style. One's very cropped, the other one's got a slightly longer and longer front but a cropped back. And I thought that, I don't know, there's something about these frosted leaves that I thought they would look good with the leaves on this one. Like, so it's black and white mostly, but it's got this beautiful greens in there. It's a mix of sage and bright greens. So I thought I'd split the leftover beads I have from that other jacket that I just showed you working on. I thought I'd split the beads into the three different, like the straw, the really yellow green ones, the bright ones, and then these are all the dark ones. And I also added a few more dark ones in there as well. I was like, right, I'll use up all of these and I'll use those leftover frosted glass leaves. And I did a different pattern. See, I learnt my lesson. I've used the same anchor bead on each of the single leaf beads, and this looks so cute. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and originally I was like, okay, I'll do one row like this and then I'll do another row hanging over the top where the long thread will be over the single leaf. But I don't know, I'll put it on the mannequin in a minute. I sort of did half. I started in the center back so that I could get my rhythm working, and I sort of made it halfway up one center front. And when I was working on my bench, I was like, oh, does this look good? But then I put it on the mannequin and it looks really good. When it's hanging down the way it's supposed to, it works. But you sort of have to turn the beads a different way to bead them. And it looked very average. So once I saw it on the mannequin, I was like, no, this is good. I love it. And so I went around, and as I was getting to the neckline, I was like, actually, I think I want to do something a little bit special, because when I was frantically searching the boxes, well, not frantically, but looking in several boxes of beads for those other leaves, I came across these, the sort of like the center of a flower. So they're not a flower in themselves. I think if you saw my grey jacket, the grey floral jacket with the chandelier beading, these are white versions of the same cherry blossom center floral bead. And this is me just trying the different beads. So yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with snowdrops, these flowers that come out just before, at the end of winter and just before spring is about to be sprung. So yes, I did them around the neckline, and then I decided that I like it. I just did a little bit. I was like, we'll see what it looks like. And then when I got to the end of my thread, I tied on another one. I was like, actually, we'll put it on the mannequin. We'll see if I like it. And I do. It's really subtle. I think if most people look at the jacket, they'll just think it's only leaves. They won't see the little snowdrops on top of each of the leaves, which is kind of cool, because snowdrops are like that. They're kind of insignificant, but if you know, you know, like if you know to look for them and where to look for them, you can see them, and it's just awesome. So I think they work. Like, they sort of look like a snowdrop, but also they have the characteristics of a snowdrop. So then I finished the rest, and then I could not, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So I think I show you the whole thing. Like, it's exactly the same beading the whole way around, but I feel like I need to show you the whole of the back. I think on this one, on most of these jackets, I'm going to do a red, really intense, bright red triangle on the back of all of them. But I think maybe for this one, I might do a dark green one. Perhaps. I'm not sure. Just because it's in keeping with the snowdrops. I could do like a green, the large green sequins from the Paca Rabanne jacket. Those ones, I could do the triangle of that and then put some of these frosted leaves and snowdrop flowers dotted in there. I think that would look really beautiful, but I'm not sure if that's the point or not. Anyway, this is me deciding that I'm going to do the second of these black and white floral jackets with sage green. I've got these lotus pods, and they're in a sort of sage weird green. And yeah, anyway, I do really want to use these ones, but I can use these vintage floral beads on like a black tweed or a plain black fabric, which I think will work. And yeah, I don't know, I just decided I really love how the leaves in this black and white fabric, the green leaves, are sort of a brightish dark green as well as sage. It's such a difficult combination to pull off, but it somehow manages it. So, but I also really want to use the bright green beads, but I think I'll save the bright green for a bright green beads for a bright green fabric that I have. So I don't end up doing any more on this jacket because at this point I couldn't decide. I do want beading over the shoulders and on the cuffs of the sleeves, but I couldn't decide if I just wanted the frosted leaves and the dark green beads, or I wanted to put the snowdrop beads in there. I don't think I'll use the snowdrop beads. I think I'll just have the snowdrops around the neckline, and everywhere else will be the frosted leaves and the dark green beads. So then I was like, okay, because when I made this jacket, I had the leftover 3 different types of green beads left over. So I've used up most of the dark green. I've got the bright green. Oh, this is me getting distracted. This is crochet, and you can crochet in a pattern and it ends up looking like strawberries. Isn't that amazing? I can't crochet. Oh, and I totally have to do a bead haul, if only so that I can show you my duck beads. They are absolutely adorable. I was thinking about maybe sticking them on, but and doing a necklace of coloured beads, but I think I'm going to hang them down off a string of beads. And yeah. And then these are more pictures that I've been looking at for one of my Make 9 jackets is a cottage garden. So I did some more work. So this is the second of the 2 jackets from this fabric. And yes, I know they're not green. I decided to put down these. I was going to do just 2 or 3 different types of green, but I was desperately trying to go through another box and find those little leaves, but instead I found these dark blue, sort of almost midnightish blue beads, and they just go perfectly with this. So I was like, oh, and I love navy blue and bright green together. I just love them. I love them so much. So I decided that that's what I was going to do on this one. They're a slightly larger bead. They're called 8mm. I'm not sure what that is in inches. But yeah, so the other beads that I was using are 4mm and 6mm, mainly 6mm. So these ones are slightly bigger, and yeah, it really does make a difference. And they're heavier, obviously, because each bead is bigger, but also because they're bigger, you get less in a packet. So it was a bit of a struggle. I ended up doing the cuffs sort of. Yeah, I should have done, as I said, over the shoulder first, then the cuffs, then the rest. And I still have a few of the navy blue beads, but because the cuffs are very sparse and ugly looking, I decided to sort of leave it the way that it was, because I'd used up well more than half, so I couldn't just do the same again. So it's a little bit tricky using, like, you get so used to how many beads you should use and how, so it's tricky using 8mm beads. Also, because they're bigger, they're bulkier, and they don't sit as well. So and those are the bright green beads that I was saving to use with the little transparent leaves, which I cannot find. And I think I'm going to use them. So I'm using this other green. It's a dark green, but in the context that I'm using it, it actually looks quite bright. But so I've used the navy blue, and then I'm using this darker bright green, and then I was going to put the transparent bright green over the top, the smaller transparent bright green over the top, but I ended up running out of time. But yeah, so I think these look, well, they kind of look quite awkward together. And this is, this is me just showing you that it's another day, but they're watermelon dresses. Aren't they cute? So here we are at the beginning of the next sewing beading session. I haven't actually done any more beading, but you can sort of see in the daylight, it's the colours are slightly different. I don't like this sleeve type as much as I like the cap sleeve. This is the curved one. And just as soon as you get up close, like from far away, it looks okay. But the closer you get, the more detail you see of the print in the quilting cotton. And it's the most beautiful blues in there. So it's a navy blue background. The flowers are, I guess some would say purple, but I say indigo. And the leaves are this beautiful, darkish, bright green. It's just the most adorable combination, as I said, navy and green. That sort of bright green are just, to me, they're just absolutely adorable together. So I keep working away at this slowly. It's basically the same amount that I have done of the navy, I then do with the green. And obviously I use navy threads for the navy and green threads for the green. And yeah, it's just, the bigger the bead that you use, the heavier. So you have to use, I think at this point I'm using 3 or 4 strands doubled over. So eight strands of thread. And it's just difficult to match the thread, difficult to turn each bead so that the thread is as invisible as possible. And yeah, plus I didn't really like these sleeve shapes as much as I liked the other, like the twinsy jacket of this. It just has those really cute cap sleeves. So yeah, but I mean, it's, for what it is, it's remarkable. But I do like it, but it definitely needs that third transparent smaller green bead over the top. It's just going to make it look much more graceful. And oh gosh, doing these beads over the shoulders, because at this point I was running out of beads as well, so I literally had to count out the beads, and oh my goodness, and some of them had dropped on the floor. So normally I don't bother cleaning the floor and, you know, picking up all the beads and putting them in the bead soup jar until I finished everything. But at this point I had to go down sit on the floor and find all the beads that had rolled everywhere, because I just needed, you know, those extra 10 or 20 beads. And I ended up, because the center front, like at the bottom, at the hem, it was a little bit gappy as well. Here we go. So this is all I had left to do the 2 cuffs, the bottoms of the sleeves, and it really was not enough. Oh, and this is me showing you the leaf that I found while I was sitting on the ground finding the beads that had rolled away. I obviously found one of those transparent little green leaves as well. It matches the print so perfectly that you can hardly even see it when it's on the jacket, but obviously it wouldn't be flat on there. It would be hung on the bottom of a string of also transparent green beads. Oh, and if you watch the April videos, I keep going on about these cherry beads and how I wanted the strawberry beads, so or strawberry pendants, that kids jewelry, and they came in a set of different fruits. And these ones, I think they're either apples or tomatoes, and I was going to use them with the cherry ones eventually, but I've recently, at the sales earlier on in the year, I found this fabric. It's navy and it's vine tomatoes. So they've got the green top and they're bright green like cherry tomatoes, and also some larger tomatoes as well. So I might use them on that one. Anyway, so this is me just showing you all my bright green beads that are going to go on. I've got this bright green felt fabric, so I think I'll probably use them on that. Anyway, when I eventually find those leaves. So this is me showing you that I've done, I think I might show you a little bit, like I had a handful of beads left at this point, and it was a little bit gappy at the center front down the bottom. So I used them on that. I could have used them in the cuffs, but I ended up putting them in the front. I can tell the difference. So maybe it's just me trying to reassure myself. So I do like it the way it is. If I just, made the lining and hand sewed in the lining and it was like this, then I probably would wear it. But I think I will like it better when I put the third color of beading, that transparent smaller green bead on there. But I'm sort of holding back because I really want to find those transparent leaves, because if I find them, I might use them on that jacket that I just showed you. Anyway, back to the sage. So I really wanted to use the lotus pods on this, but you can't just use the lotus pods by themselves, because the hole in the bead is from the center bottom, like where the stem would go, up to the top, like where the flower would go. And I also have a couple, like just a handful of similar colored, the sort of pastel, sort of sage green beads. So I end up doing some, I just got all these light like mint, sage and light green colored beads, and I decide to do them on that. And then I'm not sure why I'm showing you that. Oh, because it's basically the end of the month and I'm showing you all the things I still haven't done. Haven't done triangles on the back of any of these. And I still haven't done the beading over the shoulders and the cuffs for the dark green beading. And I still need to finish the gold jacket and the one with the snowdrops around the neckline. Still need to finish that one too. But I really wanted to use these lotus. I was in the flow. And this type of lampshade beading is quite difficult to do. And when you get an idea, and I just felt like this one would work. And I knew that if I didn't do it now, then it would be one of those ideas that never got realised, which I didn't want to happen. So I just left all the other things half finished, as I do. Like, it doesn't really matter. There's no deadline. I've got so many jackets already finished that I can wear. So, and this way I get to use up beads that sometimes I buy beads that I'm like, yeah, good luck using up that. And these lotus pod, they're just so weird. So yeah, but I've mixed them with other pale green beads. They're not like, they're mint, and then there's pale green, and then these seed pods are the sort of it's when they sort of swell the color. So some of them are really quite white, and some of them are darker sage, almost to a khaki or olive green. So yeah, I'm probably going to use about half of them. So I'm trying to use up the lightest ones, the sort of whitey sage ones. And yeah, it's a difficult type of beading. And as I said, at this point, I'm using 4 strands doubled over. So there's 8 strands in there. And the more strands you thread through your needle, first of all, it's impossible. And I'm just showing you this yet again because I really do prefer the cap sleeve to this one, but the beads have settled a little bit on this, so I like it a little bit more. And I've done the beading around the bottom, which is me just sorting out what the beading would be. And then I've also done one shoulder and one cuff. And I did the shoulder first, then did the cuff. With the cuff, I did 2 layers of beading. So there's 1 layer of beading on the bottom of the jacket, 4 layers over the cuff, over the shoulder, and then 2 layers on the cuff. I think if I had my time again, I'd probably just do 1 layer on the bottom of the sleeve. I think the 2 layers is a little crowded. Weight-wise, I like the 2 layers, but down here, I think, I don't know. I haven't finished it yet because I can't decide whether I like the 2 layers or the 1 layer better. This is me looking at, I've got beads in these exact colours, and then I was looking at cottage gardens and I saw this tulip one and I was like, ooh, I've got beads in all of those colours. So I've kept that photo, and I just thought the forget-me-nots with the orange and the dark purpley was interesting. I've also, basically it's about what beads I could use up plus what color combinations of flowers I like, because I'm pretty old school when it comes to flower color combinations. I like the pastels together. I like, the purples and blues together. I like whites with just dark green. And as you can tell from this jacket. So yeah, as I said, I've still got a lot of the lotus pods. So around the neckline, I might do a row of lotus pods like I did the fish on that other one. I'm not sure. So this is, if I left it like this, it's a nice jacket. I mean, there's not enough weight on the bottom of the back. So I do think on the cropped bit of the back, if I just did an extra layer of beading on there, then it would be fine to go. But I could also do another layer of beading around the neckline, plus a row of lotus pods with a single bead on top anchoring it. So, but I don't know. I kind of like how uniform it is, just off a step off the actual neckline. Normally I don't, but on this particular, so this is me just showing you what it would look like if I did the lotus pods around the neckline. So I'm not sure. Oh, and I think like if you put just the bigger bead and the lotus pod, then it kind of looks like a green pineapple. Yeah, I spend a lot of time using these beads. So you just sort of like, as a writer, I tend to sort of work on whatever I'm working on, writing project wise. But sometimes I just go back to the beads and I'm just like, maybe I could do this bead with this bead. And yes, I'm very entertained by my own thoughts, I have to say. So anyway, I haven't done any more than that, and I don't know what I'm going to do for the triangle on the back of this one either, but it's really unusual. I did not think I would use light green beads on this, but they just look awesome. I love this. It's such a boring well, not boring, but such a classic fabric. I didn't think I could surprise myself. And this is me just with a recap of, because I've worked on so many different jackets this episode. It's like I did all this work over a week and a half, but yeah, I didn't do any work on this. This is me just pointing out that I still have not done the small amount of beading left to go on this one. So the sleeves are fine. The shoulders are absolutely awesome. I think the beading over the shoulders with the 4 rows, I think that's my favorite bit. I think the neckline at the back does need another 2 rows of beading, just because the necklines, because it's round rather than straight, it just takes so much beading. And you have to be really careful because there's already so many beads that can knot your thread. And also you don't want it to look bulky, you want it to look weightless. And also the shelf at the bust area, that needs more beading as well. This one I didn't get to either. I absolutely love it with those cute little cap sleeves. Definitely want the shoulder beads. I'm happy with the amount of beading that there is around the neckline. So what I did was, I think I did twice as much beading around the neckline, and then I did an extra row right on the neckline that it's like 2 beads, 3 beads, 2 beads, 3 beads, I think. Or maybe it's 3, then 4. I can't remember. I like the amount of beads around the bottom at the hem, but weight-wise, like visually, I like what it looks like, but weight-wise, it's not heavy enough because they're just smallish plastic beads. They're only 6mm. So I think I may have to add another row or 2 to the bottom. Yeah. And then I don't know what I'm going to do on the back. I started out thinking everything should be a red triangle, but yeah, I don't know. I think I like the idea of the transparent red because then still be able to see all those beautiful flowers underneath it, but you'll definitely be able to see the red triangle as well. So yeah, still got the beading over the shoulders, the cuffs to go, and the design feature on the back, and probably around the bottom as well, the hem. It just doesn't feel heavy enough. And then, oh, I think I had these jackets out in this particular order because I was taking the photo for the thumbnail, the front of the video. I hadn't seen this one in a while because I tucked it away. I tucked these ones away on the rack, and these fish around the neckline, oh my gosh. I think like when you put the jacket on, you can really, really see really, really clearly that it's just these fish, and they're like balancing a golden orange ball on their tail, and I don't know, it amuses me so much. It's delightful. I love them. And yeah, it turns out, sometimes you do something and you're like, ooh, I hope this doesn't look too terrible, and then it turns out and it's just awesome. So yeah, I won't be doing this. This is the largest of the sleeve patterns. That it looks good if it's not beaded, or if you do a really light smattering of beading. I think this sleeve is really pretty, like the silhouette of the jacket is beautiful, but with the weight of the beading, it doesn't sit. Like a wide sleeve is so much easier to bead, but if you have a lot of weight of beads on there, then it can sort of fall in on itself. So it's a delicate balance, and I think I certainly wouldn't go any bigger or puffier with a sleeve like this, but I think also because the cap sleeves just look so cute and so adorable, and they carry the weight of the beads so well, that these larger ones just look a little bit, I don't know, cartoonish. And also because the actual jacket, like the torso of the jacket, is so small that, yeah. And this is me. I like all the necklines of these jackets. I think it's because I've done double layers of beads around the neckline, and then I've also added on the inside of the, like right at the neck, I've done that extra layer of individual beads. It just looks so good. It's going to be an absolute nightmare hand stitching the lining in though, because yeah, I've got to cover all the threads, and I've got to sort of stitch into this bit that's so hard because there's so much thread. It's like thin layers of threads, but it all adds up. Anyway, yeah, I really like that one. That was the candy pink vintage floral that I was thinking of originally putting those pale green safety pins on to make it sort of pastel but punkish. I think I will use them now on the lotus jacket, perhaps, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that lotus one. It's not finished. I think I'm going to add more beads to it. I definitely have to add more beads to the back. I should talk about the jacket that's on the mannequin at the moment. This one is adorable with the frosted glass leaves. I use frosted plastic leaves. I use so many. Oh, I should have left this in. So they're plastic, so they don't sound like wind chimes or anything. They definitely sound like little bits of plastic hitting each other. But they look pretty. I think they sort of look like feathers. They have this lightness to the way they look, but it's also a lot of beads. It's like a couple of bags worth of beads. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way that this one turned out. And doing the individual leaf-shaped beads, anchoring them on with one bead each, like it takes ages to do that individual row of beads around after you've done the 2 rows of regular strings of beads, then to do another row that sort of sits just inside it. It's really, really technically demanding work, and your thread just gets caught on everything, so it's frustrating as well. But it's so worth it. It looks beautiful, and this is my snowdrop jacket. Now I want to do a bunch of other jackets that are green that have white flowers on them, because I love the idea of having a capsule collection that's just snowdrops or in these colours. But also one of my Make 9 jackets is I want to make a jacket that's got fabric flowers on it, like my yellow fabric flower jacket, or the apricot one with that has strawberries hanging down off it. So I've got loads of white flowers and loads of really dark green leaves or variegated leaves, like sort of cream and dark green ivy leaves, and also, you know, those indoor plants that are sort of mostly dark green, but they've got a little bit of dark red or purple on them with some white spots and things. I've got a few leaves like that as well. So I think they'll just make an absolutely gorgeous jacket. And I think I'm going to do a couple of floral jackets that have short sleeves, not long sleeves, because that way I'll look less like a hedge. Because, yeah, I love floral jackets, but I'm just such a tiny frame that I feel like dress-wise, as dresses, when I make dresses, I love dresses with big puffy sleeves and really long dresses, but in the end I end up having to make sleeveless dresses so that you can actually see part of me, and I'm not just so that you can see that I'm not just this massive, 10 yards of fabric. So I like this one mostly. I just need more to do the beading over the shoulders and on the sleeves. So now we're on the second of the indigo flower jackets, and I like it the way it is, but I do think that it needs that third type of beading on there, the transparent beads, just because both of these are opaque sorts of beads, and I don't know, it's less interesting for your eye. When it's transparent bead, your eye sort of trips over it, and it always takes a little bit more time and more focus, whereas the ones that are opaque, it's just a little bit not bland, and it's certainly an interesting color combination, but I think I would like it more if it had the extra complexity of the transparent beads over the top. But I'm hanging off doing it because I want to see if I can find those leaves. I won't do maybe a leaf on the end of every single string of transparent beads. Maybe I'll do every second one perhaps, and that way I'll have enough to use the leaves, the leftover transparent leaves on the other bright green jacket. I'm kind of, it's annoying because I've made loads of jackets, but there are other bits of fabric that I haven't made up into jackets yet. So I was looking at the bright green beads, and I really, really wanted to use them on the bright green felt jacket. And I was like, how is it not made yet? I've made a bazillion jackets. But yeah, it is good having loads of jackets to choose from, but inevitably I should just make up all the green fabrics into jackets, because those are the ones I want to do. But every jacket has its merits. Actually, the La Croix one that I was going to stitch the sort of goldish beads that look like sunflowers, I was going to do them. Originally, I was going to do them in, I just showed you this jacket. I don't need to talk about it again. I was going to originally do a beaded trim around that one, and then because this has been waiting for years to be beaded, and then I was going to do embellishment all over it. This is the La Croix jacket is the one that I tried to do the bad watermelon on the back of, but it didn't work, so I carefully unpicked it. Now I'm thinking I'll do lampshade beading with those gold beads. That would be awesome. And it would be I'm kind of in the zone for this type of beading. Chandelier beading, vertical garden beading, lampshade beading, whatever you want to call it. They're all basically the same thing, but just using different types of beads and in different orders. But yeah, so I think I might do this sort of beading on a couple of tweed jackets. I've got this Chanel tweed in beige, and it's also got white, pale pink and pale blue in there. I think it would look awesome if I did this type of beading in pale blue and pale pinks, perhaps. Even though I'm really supposed to be starting on my Make Nines jackets. And this is me just admiring my work. Seriously, those fish beads that are sort of flipping the, you know how seals do that thing where they flip the ball with their nose? Well, the fish just sort of look like if their tail fin was feet, they're sort of playing with it with their tail fins. Anyway, and this is me just doing a quick run through of my Make Nine. So I've been doing a lot of homework for each of them, and I've got, so my first jacket is a strawberry jacket, and I'm like, yeah, so I'm going to do a whole video where I work through, there's like some of the strawberry one, I've got three main ideas for what the strawberry jacket could be. And the number 2 is my Edinburgh jacket, and I've got like 3 different ideas for. One of them is a crossover, like it's a vintage brooch jacket with all different types of Scottish thistles on there. And oh yeah, with my New York jacket, New York is because I don't know why, New York City, Central Park in New York City is the only place I've ever seen fireflies. So to me, fireflies are New York City. But also there's that movie, You've Got Mail, where the last scene is in this community garden at the 91st Street Community Garden in Riverside Drive Park. So, and then there's the Paris jacket. But my favorite thing about Paris, apart from, all the arts and culture and everything, obviously, rah, is strawberry tarts, baguettes, so like plain bread, and croissants or chocolate croissants. So yeah, you can buy, you know how you can get doll's house furniture, so you can also get doll's house. This is the Alexander McQueen vintage brooch jacket that inspired my longing to make a vintage brooch jacket of my own. So, and number 6 is the fabric flowers. So yeah, you can buy doll's house furniture, but you can also buy doll's house food for like your dolls in the house. And so you can get these tiny French stick of bread and tiny chocolate croissants and regular croissants and little slices of cake and things. So I'm very, very tempted to buy some of those, but they're quite expensive per bit. And I guess if I did a beaded trim, you end up using less beads in beaded trim than you do in sort of this type of beading. So anyway, or I could just do something completely different for Paris, for my Paris jacket, which is one of my Make 9, and use up beads that I actually have in my collection already. But I don't know, it's kind of boring always just using up what you have. But I mean, it does produce, like when you can only use what you have, it does produce some amazingly unique pieces. Like this one, it just makes me smile. Like I love the color and the energy and the beauty of the flowers, but also having these fish in here, it's just ridiculous. But the color-wise, they just look so perfect. And adding those transparent orange and transparent golden beads in there, like as I was doing it, that like when you're doing it one layer at a time, you can't really see the vibrant intensity of the color. And I was like, I believe, I have faith. And then once you've got like the 4 layers, it just looks so cute. On this one too, I'm really happy with the necklines on these. Like they required so much detail to do the 2 or 4 layers around the neckline and then add that additional layer on the inside of the neckline, but they look really good. And this one, it just looks so feathery and fluttery. I really like all of them actually in their own particular way, but yeah, they're just okay, it kind of annoys me that I used alternating greens on to anchor the individual leaves around the neckline, but I don't know. It's just, it looks really good. After I use up the leftover leaves beads for the next jacket, this one here, to do the shoulders and the sleeves of this one, I'm still going to have some leftover beads. So I kind of want to make a tiara that's just like a forest fairy tiara or a forest fairy garland. I normally put my hair up. I either wear my head down or I put my hair up in just like a messy bun with held up with a pen. So I could easily put a tiara on the front. Not so easily a garland, because my hair is that sort of, it's when it's short, it's a little bit curly, but when it's long, it sort of weighs out all the curls, so it's just a little bit wavy. But yeah, this one I really like. I can't decide whether I'll leave it. I think I'll just leave it up on the mannequin on the sideboard, because I can't really decide how much more beading. Like, I can double down on the beading. It's really annoying me. Sometimes I put a jacket on the mannequin and the left and the right side aren't quite matching. So it looks like the jacket doesn't match, but I've just put it on the mannequin slightly wrong. And then when I watch the footage back, it irks me. It irks me big time. Anyway, that is it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've been inspired to do some beading, because beading is awesome. It is so much fun, and it does take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a fuss, but it's totally worth it. And I do have a separate video. I'll put a link in the description box below to my tutorial on how you actually do the beading. It takes you through like 11 different types of beading techniques. So if you want to see the nuts and bolts of how everything's done, check that one out. Goodness, there's such a small amount left to do on this gold jacket. I can't believe I haven't finished that one, or the one with the dark green beads. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and happy sewing.